Men of Stone, Chapter 3. Stan was waiting for me outside the school gates at the end of the day with an unlit cigarette hanging from his lip. "Where's Fish?" I asked. Stan cupped his hands and lit up. "Who knows? Probably with his lady fair." I nodded and frowned at him. "He's got it bad." "It's going around," he said, offering a rare half-smile. "I think I pretty much blew any chance I might have today," I said. "You know what they say, the course of true love never did run smooth," said Stan, taking a long drag. "Well then, I'm in excellent shape," I said, climbing into his beat-up truck. "Shepard asked me why you weren't in history today." "What did you tell him?" "I said you were probably out in the quad smoking." I grinned. "That's helpful." Stan gunned the engine, leaving a stream of black exhaust in his wake. "You take any notes?" "Yeah," I answered. "They're right here, color-coded and double-spaced. Somewhere. Now, where did I put them?" I pretended to look through my knapsack, which was empty except for an old lunch bag that smelled like 7th-grade tuna fish. Stan and I weren't exactly on target to make the honor roll. His truck made conversation difficult, so when he pulled up to my house, I just yelled, "See ya," and he drove off. It startled me when I walked in through the kitchen to see an old lady sitting at the table. I'd forgotten she was here. "Oh, hi," I said, knocking over a chair with a loud bang. She jumped, and I scrambled to right the chair, hoping I hadn't given her a heart attack. She looked so tiny and shriveled, like an apple that had been left in the sun too long. "It's me, Ben," I said loudly. She winced slightly and managed a small smile. "They say my hearing is good for an old lady." "Oh, right, sorry," I muttered, quietly growing red. I stood there like an idiot, not knowing what to do or say. It was like meeting a long-lost relative who lived on Mars. What do you say to a Martian? "Would you like some tea?" she asked, getting up slowly. I waited for her to sit down. "I'll get a cup," I offered. She sat down again. "My legs work pretty well, too. They're the last to go." I smiled a little. I handed a mug over, and she filled it with dark black tea. I hate tea. But I took the cup and added a couple of tablespoons of sugar with lots of milk. "Where's everybody?" I asked, still standing and holding the cup awkwardly. "Sit down," she ordered, sounding like a tiny general. "Your sisters aren't home yet, and your mother's gone to the university. The library, I think she said." Imagine a grown woman still in school. "Part-time. She teaches the rest of the time," I said. She's working on her master's in administration, Aunt Frida." I tried out the name for the first time. "Well, good for her," she said. Her eyes were warm and shimmery, tucked in behind a map of wrinkles. "Ugh, Ben, you've gotten so big." I shrugged. The last time she'd seen me, I would have been 5. I wonder if she was going to pinch my cheeks, but her hands were folded in front of her. "I used to be bigger," she said. I drained the tea in one final gulp, burning my throat in the process. "I've got lots of homework," I said truthfully. What I didn't say was that I had no intention of doing it. "Yes, your mother was telling me that you've been having some trouble with your schoolwork." "I bet she was," I muttered. Better grades were my mother's answer to everything. Not that she ever seemed to wonder what the question was. "She seemed worried about you," Aunt Frida continued. Okay, now I was getting twitchy. This was moving into her none-of-her-business territory. What did she think she knew about me, anyways? "She wants me to get into a good university," I tossed back, checking out the doorway. "Just 4 big steps, and I'd be out of the room." "And what do you want?" she asked, looking into my eyes unflinchingly. I almost answered, "I don't know what the hell I want." But the door opened and Joni and Beth poured in. They came to a dead halt when they saw us, as if they'd also forgotten she was here. "Oh, hi," Beth said. Joni just stood there, wearing her regular all-black ensemble and half-snarl. Physically, all my sisters took after my mum, and when they were little, people mistook them for triplets. That stopped when the girls discovered hair dye, though. Mad changed her color and style for every new part that came her way. Beth mostly stuck with her original blonde, with occasional highlights when she was feeling adventurous. For Joni, bluish-black was the most consistent choice. She rarely let her light roots show, and the effect was sobering. "Hello, girls. How was your day?" I leaned back on my chair and watched the scrutiny shift. "Pretty good, thanks." Beth sat down beside me. She and Mad had graduated last year, and now Beth was in some cooking school. Joni mumbled something about homework, which was a joke since she hadn't cracked the spine of a book since junior high. How she was going to graduate this year, even from the alternative program, was one of life's big mysteries. "It's not relevant," was her usual battle cry. Personally, I appreciated her stand. as it helped diffuse some of Mum's pressure on me. Joni just pulled a juice box out of the fridge and left the room. She's an artist, I said to Aunt Frida, by way of explanation. Like your father? She said. Not really. Dad painted landscapes and people with actual faces, recognizable things. But I didn't say anything. Mostly I was thinking how weird it was to have someone here who had no clue how abnormal a family we were. Would you like some tea, Aunt Frida asked Beth. Beth shook her head. I really should get supper started, she said. I could help, Aunt Frida offered. Beth's smile froze. The kitchen was her territory, and nobody ever dared intrude. Not that anyone really wanted to. That's okay. You're a guest, Beth answered. Now, none of that. We're all family. I don't want any special favors. Just give me a job. She waited, and I smiled at the quiet stubbornness on her face. Well, I suppose you could, chop the zucchini for me? Beth said, shooting a help me look from across the room. I shook my head ever so slightly, and Beth's eyes narrowed. I knew I'd probably be shot for insubordination, but I was enjoying the way my sister's perfectly organized world was crumbling. Take it from someone who's been bossed around his whole natural-born life. This was an event. Girls ruled here, period. It would be fun to see this 100-year-old woman shake things up. For now, though, I got up to leave. Tell Joni I need her for something, Beth called out to me. Uh-huh, I said, still smiling at the look on Beth's face. Taking the stairs 2 at a time, I paused at the top. The upper floor was the land of the Amazon women, and I hardly ever visited. I learned, soon after my 10th birthday, that this was where they walked around in their underwear. Wastepaper baskets were filled with wrappers and tissues that told me more than I wanted to know about the female body, and multicolored strappy things hung in the bathroom. I remember using one of their bras as a slingshot once. With the underwire ones, you can really get great distance, but nobody appreciated my ingenuity. Mostly I stayed away. I stood outside Joni's door. The sign was up. Do not disturb. Underneath was scrawled in scarlet ink, already disturbed. I knocked out anyway, but softly. What? She called out. I took this as an invitation and stepped inside the dumpster she called a room. Directly across from me, above her bed, was her masterpiece to date, a huge mural painted on her wall. It was mostly dark shapes and vigorous crimson squiggles. She called it cramps. Beth wants you, I said, turning to leave. Close the door, she ordered. I did. She's still down there? No, she went back to Saskatchewan. She said you scared her. Joni didn't even crack a smile. She's so old, she said. Yeah. How old do you think she is? Really old, I said. Yeah. Joni reached under her bed and pulled out a pack of cigarettes. She lit one. Mom's gonna love the smell of cigarette smoke in the house. She waved the smoke out of her face and opened the window. I'm stressed, okay? So this is more stressful for you than the rest of us? I dared to ask. She gave me a long, Joni glare. I feel things that the rest of you are afraid to feel, she answered, blowing smoke into our backyard. There was no place to sit without moving a pile of laundry, so I stood beside her chest of drawers. It was littered with beauty products, mostly for hair. I picked up a long, slender cylinder and read the back instructions. This one says, do not smoke until hair is dry. Doesn't that make you nervous at all? Very funny. Well, it is, kind of. Using a beauty product that could, explode into flames. Wouldn't that ruin the whole effect? I tried to keep a straight face. You guys have it so easy, she said, shifting to face me. Here it comes. You can put on a t-shirt and jeans, swipe a comb somewhere in the vicinity of your head, and you're ready to go out. I know. Why had I started this? I looked around the room for something white to wave. I surrender. And as far as self-immolation is concerned, what? Lighting yourself on fire? Where were we talking about that? She ignored my question. Women all over the world have resorted to self-immolation as a way to protest how unfairly women are treated. That's horrible, I admitted, wondering how we'd gone from Aunt Frida and hairspray to burning women, but at the same time, not really wondering. You men rule the world, she said with finality and another long exhalation of smoke. I was being dismissed. I exited quietly, closing the door behind me. Rule the world. Funny, you'd think that was the kind of thing I'd had noticed. I was lucky that if I got to use the bathroom before noon. I went downstairs and peeked in the kitchen. Aunt Frida was sitting at the table, peeling and chopping zucchini. Beth was at the sink. I tiptoed past the open door and made it to my room unnoticed. I didn't come out again until I heard Mum enter the kitchen. "Smells good," she said, sniffing deeply.